Good evening. You can airbrush history, but you can't airbrush a civilization. Aurangzeb tried to, but our ancestors foiled his plan. It is beyond any doubt, in fact, written in the most authentic biography of Aurangzeb, Masir Alamgiri, that in January of 1670, on orders of Aurangzeb, the Keshav Dev temple, believed to be the birthplace of Lord Krishna, was demolished. And Aurangzeb had the idols brought to Agra to be scattered under the steps of Jahanara Mosque so that they would be trodden on. If the holiest shrine of some other religion was demolished and people of other faiths stomped their dirty feet on the sacred relics as they walked inside the place of worship, this country would have witnessed a civil war. The broken temple still exists. The broken idols still exist. Nations weaken not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. And for 70 years, we've been taught to forget historical injustices, forget the broken idols, forget the broken temples. From Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, Babarpur to Bakhtiyarpur, Allahabad to Aurangabad, from Martan to Mathura. These injustices have deliberately been made visible, as though to lionize the debasement, celebrate the humiliation. And the irony is that the same people who have taught us to forget historical injustices drilled this self-loathing in us. These same people want others to fight historical injustice around the world. They condemn barbarians of the West hither to worship like the Confederacy generals Rhodes, Churchill, Pizarro, Murray, Colston, Leopold. They celebrate their roads and buildings being renamed, their statues being brought down. But here in India, this same set eulogize barbarians like Tipu, Aurangzeb, Babur, Khilji. Why? I'll tell you why. It's a heady mix of hatred for Hinduism and love for jihadism. Hatred for India and love for his breakup. And of all the disputed sites, the Keshav Dev or the Krishna Janamsthan at Mathura is the easiest to decipher and adjudicate. Let me explain why and how, just a couple of minutes. In 1618, the Keshav Dev temple that was repeatedly destroyed by invaders like Ghaznavi and Lodi, who, by the way, ordered the idols to be given to butchers to be used as meat weights, was rebuilt by Bir Singh Deo Bundela for rupees 33 lakhs, a princely sum in that day. 50 years later, it was cruelly destroyed by Aurangzeb. And 100 years later, in 1770, I beg your pardon, the Marathas got control of the site after the Great Battle of Govardhan. The site then fell into the hands of the East India Company in 1803. That then auctioned the property to Raja Patnimal in 1815, with whose descendants the property remained till it was sold to the Sri Krishna Janam Bhoomi Trust under the auspices of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya in 1944, who wanted to construct a glorious temple there. But in 1958, some devious politicians made a wholly fraudulent trust called the Sri Krishna Janam Bhoomi Seva Sangh that entered into an agreement with the Eidgah Trust in 1968 and accepted a compromise where the Shahi Eidgah's 2 acres of the 13.37 Krishna Janam Bhoomi property would remain in the Muslim hands. It was Vishnu Jain and his father Hari Jain who went from pillar to post year on year, week on week to extract the original sale deed and discovered that the real owner is Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya Sri Krishna Janam Bhoomi Trust, and that the Sri Krishna Janam Bhoomi Seva Sangh had absolutely no business to enter into an agreement with the Muslim side in 1968. This was, as Vishnu said, akin to Bunty and Bubbly selling Taj Mahal in that famous movie. On 25th September 2020, Vishnu Jain and his father Hari Jain filed a civil suit, but on 30th September, the suit was dismissed by the judge, saying that the judiciary will collapse if every Krishna Bhakt were to approach the court in such matters. So, every person who was opposed to 370 or CAA could approach the judiciary and it would not collapse. But in this case, every Krishna Bhakt who were to approach the court, the judiciary would collapse. That was the reasoning. But the persistence of the Jains won the day, and their 3 years of struggle in the courts has led to the judgment of today in the Allahabad High Court. That is what the significance of this thing is. Finally, I would like to spend a minute to try and understand, possibly for myself, what Vishnu Jain has embarked on. He is not an ordinary lawyer. He is not fighting an ordinary case either. The day Hindus reclaim the Krishna Janamsthan would, in many ways, redefine our civilization, just like reclaiming the Ram Janamsthan did. But to understand how, we first have to define it. So, what is civilization? How do you define it? Is it an idea to be thrust upon the subjects so they carry it forward? Is it the placement of forks on the left and spoons on the right of resplendent crockery? Is it sartorial splendor? Is it words uttered or written? Is it science? Is it ease of living? Is it consumption? Is it money? Many of the worst tyrants who have killed tens of millions, wiped off entire races, even continents, have been poets, artists, proponents of science. But would you call their endowments as promoting or harboring a civilization? To me, the mark of civilization is this unquenchable thirst of man to demand justice for his ancestors, to correct a historical wrong, for that exemplifies a continuity, an idea, a memory that can never be erased, that is worth fighting for and preserving. It makes justice greater than the sum of its parts, and that is why civilizations are not fleeting like empires. To demand justice for a people who are dead for hundreds of years, it is almost as though you can feel their pain, their suffering, their destruction that has transcended the limits of body and time, and that is why history is a medicine, why catharsis is a cure. And today, when I see Vishnu fighting for the rights of our ancestors, I see this as a catharsis, as a deliverance of justice to my ancestors who were wrong. I do not know what shape the rebuilt Keshav Dev temple would take. I do not know when it would ultimately come up. In a way, being a Darwinian atheist, these issues are not of importance to me. But I know for a fact that through Vishnu, the deliverance has come. It is confounding to me because I am but a bunch of cells, here today, gone tomorrow. But till the time I am alive, this concept of striving to correct a historical injustice is vital. It defines who I am, what civilization I am part of, that erasing my genes cannot erase my civilization. The concept of justice is like memory. It keeps getting passed on until realized. Through Vishnu, it stands realized. So thank you, Vishnu Jain. You might not be feted by the state. You might not be rewarded by its government. You might not be remembered by its people. You might get buried, lost in the dust and mists of time like an idol. But centuries from now, you will be excavated, honored, consecrated for what you have done. Because Bharat is eternal. It knows not time.